Hey everybody, Johnny5 Alive here, and welcome to a video series where I showcase what I found to be the best in slot min-max build for one of the 12 Midnight Suns heroes. I will also give a quick review of all the hero abilities to show what other potential fun build options the hero may have, or reveal the thought process that ultimately led me to the one and only best choice to min-max said hero. Once we have given an overview of the hero, I will give a tier list rating in direct comparison to the other 12 heroes. We'll also mention what battle items and heroes synergize best with this build. This is a 1 of 12 part series. If you end up finding this video informative or helpful in any ways, please check the video description for a full playlist of my series for Midnight Suns, and also don't forget to like and subscribe. So let's get into today's hero. The featured hero for today's video is going to be my personal favorite and everyone on Reddit's least favorite hero, Wanda Maximoff, aka Scarlet Witch. This is going to be a really fun episode because I see a lot of people whining and complaining about Scarlet Witch on Reddit, and I've seen a handful of tier list videos on YouTube stating that Scarlet Witch is an absolute worst hero in the game, D tier, meaning almost unplayable. Wow. People have made some bold statements about my personal favorite hero, and I'm excited to not only prove everyone wrong, but showcase exactly why Wanda is my personal favorite hero in Marvel Midnight Suns. And my hope is that you guys are enlightened from this video and start using Wanda in your squads more frequently based off what you learn here today. So let's get into it. Wanda's core design was intended to be a support while excelling at area effect damage dealing. However, her base kit without mods made her super costly in terms of card plays, and as a result, she never really dished out much AoE damage at all. Her one saving grace out of her standard kit is the fact that she has a massive area of effect mark all targets with 3 stacks of mark. Mark is the most valuable skill in this game by a mile, as any marked enemy killed refunds the card play used, enabling you to clear large groups of enemies for effectively free. When you first get Wanda on your team, she feels pretty underwhelming in terms of her overall kit, other than the fact that she can mark, which certainly does bring her back from the depths of hopelessness. Without any mods, I can certainly agree with everyone else pooping on Wanda. She's pretty lackluster right out of the gate. However, she does have 2 mark all enemy cards. Mark being so highly valuable, it does give her some merit. And I personally feel that that alone brings her up the tier list a little bit. So let's talk about her tier ranking. My tier list doesn't have any D heroes. I don't think any hero is unplayable. My 3 heroes listed in the C tier struggle hard without mods, but are certainly decent heroes. Wanda simply having mark all enemy brings so much value to the table. I have to at least promote her from the C tier decent tier into the bottom of the barrel of the B tier. And I think that's a fair argument, because the marking really does enable you to clear majority of the battlefield for free. Once modded, however, Wanda is absolutely top of the tippity top, right next to Iron Man and Hunter in the S tier, making her the 3rd best pick in the entire 13 hero roster, 100%. I have the evidence to back up my bold statements. That's what we're doing here today, so buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. Lovely, lovely Miss Wanda Maximoff. Let's take a look at her passive first and foremost. 25% chance to debuff each enemy near her, and that is based off her AoE radius, which can be increased through upgrading her power to 25%, and also using the card Unleash, which is going to bring that up to another 40%, and I think that's 65, but I don't know if they're multiplicative. So this would normally increase it by 40%, and then I believe it would be 25% of the already 40%, which is what is 25% of 40, that is 10. So yeah, I believe this wouldn't be 65%, it would be 75%. All I know, and you can see from my footage, once you have Unleashed triggered and you have the 25% power, her AoE abilities cover probably most of the entire map. You can mark at least 10 enemies with one massive circle. It's actually kind of ridiculous. So yeah, upgrading her power with her Unleashed and then starting to do her AoE stuff, she has the potential to be upgraded into really an AoE god. It's really quite remarkable. So going back to her passive, 25% chance to debuff each enemy near her each turn. Near her is like really quite nuts, but that's assuming you don't kill everybody in the first turn, because every mission I bring Wanda on, I generally beat every mission in one turn because she's such a beast and she enables people on your team to be such beasts. So you don't really get to use that, but there are missions that force you to play for multiple turns, survival waves, and different things like that. So you'll start to see that proc a lot more often. And when that area is increased to such a large radius, if you have 3-4 enemies left over at going into the next turn, there's a 25% chance for each of them to get the debuff. So somebody's going to get a debuff, and sometimes it can be vulnerability, it can be mark, it can be weak, and it can be helpful. It's not the best passive. I would like to see the developers in future DLC give us something more than rare. I'd like to see epic and legendary. Upgrading this to maybe like a 50 or even 100% chance. I don't think that's too broken. Give 100% chance to debuff an enemy. Sure, why not? This is a superhero game after all. So before we talk about her stats, let's look at my profile. You can see all of my stuff here, what cards I use, what are my most played cards. You can see Hex Mark 142 plays, Quick Toss 213 plays. Those are the most used abilities. I brought her on 74 missions. She's KO'd nearly 300 enemies. So you can compare my stats to yours and see how much I actually like this hero. I don't just talk about liking her. I actually like her and brought her on 74 plus missions. That's not even including the ones I went on without Hunter. So yeah, she's getting a lot of play from my game. So let's look at her stats here. Obviously, the higher your champion level, the more health and offense you get. Her offense is at 200. That's going to make a significant difference. She's got a lot of health. She's pretty tanky. Leveling up a hero is just going to obviously make them innately better. And is offense even important on a character that's somewhat support? It definitely helps, but you're only going to really see any use out of that on her quick toss for the way my build works. So not really, but having that extra health, I guess, is nice. Adds to her survivability. Upgrading her crit chance and crit damage is its lower priority because, again, you're only going to see use out of that on her quick toss, but it will do a good amount of damage. These cap out at 50% crit chance and 75% crit damage. So mine's getting there. But yeah, I would prioritize other damage dealers because she's more of a support. Fortitude is a bonus. She doesn't need it. Power is her absolute must-have stat. Of anyone to increase their AoE radius, it's going to be her. I would prioritize her. 25% is the cap. You can't go any higher than that. And as we talked about, pairing that with her Unleashed ability should bring you up to like doubling her radius. It's going to be a massive circle. Super important. And strength is also really, really important on her because she has quick toss in any direction. Why is that important? Because you can toss them into your allies. So the highest strength you can get is, I believe, 50%. But I prioritize strength on other heroes first, such as Ghost Rider and a few other heroes. So I'm working on her strength next. And what you want to try to do with this is yoink them into your allies so that you get a free card draw. This is super important to get to 50%, and that's what I'm working on next. And when I get there, she will be potentially the best min-max you can get her. Willpower, being able to heal each turn isn't that bad, especially once we start talking about her No More legendary card. That's my priority. I would focus power, then strength, and then you could start dabbling in, adding in some stuff here and there. Most of her other stats went up just from friendship levels. You can see my friendship level in the top right-hand corner there is 27. So obviously some random stats go up every time her friendship goes up. But the training room, the training grounds, I focused on power and now strength. And everything else will build up passively over time. So let's talk about her build. I think Quick Toss is a good place to start. It's her bread and butter. It's her quick attack card. Every hero has as a quick attack card. You know, those are generally good for killing minions. How you want to use this in particular, as I mentioned, is you want to use this because it's knockback in any direction. You want to use it to throw a minion into an ally, and that will KO the enemy while triggering the mod that I have on it, which the mod is on KO, draw a Scarlet Witch card. But because you threw it into an ally, any enemy thrown into an ally will draw a card innately. So this is a 2 draw card, one for her, one of your allies, and that's massive for a quick card because you're not only refunding the card that was just played and it's quick, so you killed them for free, you're getting 2 more cards to replace this. What's more important is you're fishing for her other cards. And just as a quick side note, if you're playing with your hunter, a lot of my hunter abilities are draw last attack played for free, draw last attack played for free, draw last attack played for free. What ends up happening when I play her with Wanda a lot is I'll have one of those cards in my hand with a quick toss. So I play my quick toss, I draw more cards, I use a hunter card to redraw my last attack played, which is quick toss, and I use this again, likely drawing another hunter card that allows me to draw, and so it goes on and on and on and on. I quick toss almost every single minion in the game into an ally until my hand is full. And Wanda's getting a ton of action out there taking out minions. And it's nothing to scoff at in terms of 99 damage. If we get this with a crit, we're doubling it to 200. If you manage to get strengthened on Wanda for whatever reason, it's 300 damage. It's a decent amount of damage. She can use this to actually finish off enemies. And if you're throwing them into someone that has like 340 offense like my hunter, it does increase damage. She does way more damage when throwing it into my hunter because she's level 215. So that's something to consider as well. The power of this goes up depending on the strength of the person you throw them into. So that's great. It's a great quick attack card. Absolutely love it. So when you're using this to fish for cards, what are we fishing for? Well, obviously we're fishing for Unleashed. Increase the size of area abilities by 40% by 2 turns. That's going to increase the size of all of our abilities. Plus, we talked about it with our power. That's going to go up. If they're multiplicative, that's 75%. If not, it's still 65. It's a massive area increase. Just huge. So we're wanting to fish for that. Why not have 2 of these in your deck? Well, you can only have 4 skill cards. I already have 4. Having just 1 is fine. Even if you don't have Unleashed, and you'll probably see from some of my background footage here, I probably use my abilities without Unleashed. It's just a bonus. It's nice when you get it. It's nice to get it off, and it lasts for multiple turns. And because it lasts for multiple turns, you don't really want too many of these padding your deck. It's just bloating the deck a little bit because you're going to keep drawing them, and they're going to be pretty much useless. So if I end up redrawing this, it's great because it's going to last for 4 turns, but from there it's just a redraw. So yeah, definitely don't need more than 1 in my opinion. And we're also fishing for Chaos Field. This is not necessary. You could replace this for a second Unleash if you want, but I've seen great value out of this card. For 2 turns, allies near Scarlet gain 1 resist and heal for 400 health at the end of the turn. So it gives her the ability to heal allies up at the end of every turn and gives them 1 resist. And a lot of the times what I'll do is I'll use my move to position her in between my 2 other heroes so that everybody's getting that 1 resist. If there's any enemies left over, they're gonna hit and do nothing because she's 1 resist makes you resist attacks, the damage altogether. So it's like 1 free shield basically, and you're getting healed up. So it's nice to have on harder missions, longer missions where there's enemies left over. She's gonna negate any damage that would normally occur to your allies, making her sort of like a pseudo tank in some way. So it's nice to pop that off and just have it going. And then of course we're fishing for hex marks, and all of these cards, all my skill cards, they all have free. Those are the mods on them. So it's going back to the top of the video where I said, you know, she's extremely expensive and underwhelming. If these cards weren't free, that's a card play. That's a card play. That, you know, that you're done. You're out of you can't do anything with her. You're literally just popping these cards and getting nothing out of it other than ending the turn and praying you don't die. So yeah, I agree with people in terms that she's underwhelming, but once you mod her, the sky's the limit, right? And the game was designed to let you mod your abilities, so it's kind of integral part of the game. So you have to look at their potential. And here we go with free. The only thing we're worried about is playing all these free cards and our hand is shrinking. But as we just mentioned, quick toss. We're just generating boatloads of cards with quick toss. So therefore she pays for all of her free cards. And it's great. It's such a good synergy. And that's why I get so much use out of her. Now apply 3 mark to each enemy in an area. Mark it makes it so whoever kills them, they get the card play refunded. So again, just supporting your team even further. She's drawing all the cards, she's marking all the enemies and making it so all your attacks are refunded, and then she's drawing more cards with all of that. It's incredible, and that's how you beat a lot of these ultimate 3 level 40 missions in one turn. It's pretty crazy. You can see her potential adding up here, and the mark all enemies with unleash added up and the power increase, you could pretty much hit almost every enemy on the map. At least half of them, or 75% of them. It's really nice. So yeah, absolutely love this. And then what I recently did to change up her build, I used to use Hex. What's it called? Let me go in about. I used to play with Hex Bolts. Hex Bolts was really fun, and this one I have increased damage by 50%, and I had 2 of these before. Because what happens with Hex Bolt is when you use it, it gives all the other Hex Bolts in your hand or in your deck +1 chain, and it's a chain 2. It caps at chain 5, however. You can't go endlessly. But once this thing's at chain 5 and it's doing 164 damage per hit, and then you pull it out as a crit, which means it's doing like 250 damage. 250 damage times 5 is effectively 1200 damage. And because everything that she's hitting is marked, she gets to play it for free. So Hexbolt was really fun because you could hit a minion, because the nicest thing about Scarlet is she's marking all enemies, including minions. And minions, if you breathe on them, they die. So what you could do is you mark all of these enemies plus a minion, you hit a minion with Hexbolt and chain it off to a bigger enemy, and you get the card play refunded because it killed a minion that was marked. Now the next Hex Bolt has chain 3 and then chain 4, and you could use each of the minions to build up your Hex Bolts, and that was a really fun way to play her. I also messed around with Hex Bolt having marks on them. That was actually kind of fun because, you know, you can use it to mark enemies that didn't fit within her hex mark, or it was just a second. If you didn't draw a hex mark right away, she had an ability to mark them. And once this thing gets up to chain 5, you could chain 5, mark 5 enemies. So that was kind of a fun way to mess around with that as well. But ultimately, I decided on none of those, and I wanted to lean more into her AoE. And that's when I discovered you can actually roll free on Chaos Raids. Select an area, enemies within the area attack each other, 50% for each enemy to attack twice. Free. I've seen people talking about this card on Reddit and they don't think it's that good, but it scales well. I'll tell you what, when you're on a heroic or ultimate 3 mission with level 40 difficulty, these these enemies are hitting each other for 500 plus damage, and they do it twice sometimes. And if you can get, I don't know, 8 enemies in an area all attacking each other, it's just a battle royale, and it's amazing to watch. I absolutely love it. Obviously, it's ideal to pick off the minions and don't let them kill each other, because you want to use minions to generate cards through quick toss. But once there's nothing but the big boys left on the battlefield, drop a Chaos Reigns on all the big boys for free. They're attacking each other. Whatever happens, it doesn't matter. It's free damage. Who doesn't like free damage? The one downside to Chaos Reigns, and this is why I originally didn't like it before it was free, when it used to cost me a card, I had draw 1 card on there. As you can see from here, draw a Scarlet card. When I had that originally and I didn't realize you could get free on this card, it didn't feel worth the card play cost, because when the enemies kill each other, even if they're marked, it doesn't refund you the card play because you didn't kill them. They killed them. So you don't get the card refund even though you used a card to get them to kill each other. So I was like, oh, that sucks, because I would have liked it if it refunded the card play. I would have loved it just the way it was. But after doing some mod re-rolling, I came across the fact that you can get free on this. It solves the problem right there. No matter where you toss this, it's free damage. And I mean, yeah, It comes with the cost of 3 heroism, but that's not a whole lot. And you do have characters like I run her with Hunter, and Inspire changes the cost of a random heroic in your hand to 0. So generally it's free. Or if you run her with Nico and you use Empower, you change the cost of all heroics in your hand and all future cards pulled this turn to 0. So playing her with Nico and Hunter definitely negates the cost of heroism. Regardless, you are building up heroism with all the quick tosses you're doing. And to my point earlier with Hunter, Call to Arms will double all heroism gains. So each one of these quick tosses will generate 2 heroism. So she will be able to pay for her own Chaos Reigns. And that gets to the one downside with my build on Scarlet Witch. Free, when you put free on a card, you can see it says +0 heroism. Because its cost is free, it no longer generates heroism. So we have 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, and 1. So, and then she has 3, cost 3, cost 3. On her own, by herself, yeah, she would struggle to play Chaos Raids. She doesn't generate enough heroism on her own. You know, that is the one downside. And as I mentioned, the other route you can go is with the Hex Bolts. So you could go Hex Bolts instead of Chaos Raids, and that is completely viable. You can go Hex Bolts increase damage or Hex Bolts mark, and now she's just marking that much better for your team. But if you could afford the heroism because you play Doctor Strange, Hunter, Nico, or Wolverine generates a lot of heroism, there's a lot of characters that you can run with her on the team that are, you know, good DPS characters that generate heroism, and that will cover the cost of Chaos Raids. So I think it's completely fine, and in my opinion, it's basically free damage. Now, here's the one thing I have to get done, other than increasing my strength from 25% to 50% to increase the range of her quick tosses. I want to mod No More. So the one downside to No More: consume all health to damage each enemy near Scarlet Witch, one for each health. And when her area effect is so large because of Unleashed in her power, it's almost the entire map that she hits. And she draws a card for each KO. But then she dies. She dies. And on Ultimate 3, if a character dies, you don't get a resurrect, and you immediately go from a 3-star victory to a 2-star victory. That sucks. That absolutely sucks. You're getting less gloss. She's dead now, so you can't play any more of her cards. She probably draws a bunch of cards that belong to her, and you have to redraw them to get them out of your hand because she's dead. There's nothing you can do. So it's like a crappy card, but if you can mod this so that there's a mod that restores health based off your 100% of your offense. So if we look, she has 200 offense. If I can get that mod on that card, and I've been trying, and I tell you, I've been trying for a while now. Maybe I can't actually get that mod on that card, and maybe that's why I've been trying for so long and haven't seen it, but I still believe it's possible. I just have bad luck. But it would kill all the enemies in an area or do damage based off her health, which is 1,000 health. So she does 1,000 damage to everybody. If that card's a crit, it's going to be, once we get her crit damage to 75, it's going to be 1,750 damage to everyone on the map because her range is so large. That's basically a map clearing ability. And then if we get that mod, it will heal her up to 200 health. So she'll be like on the edge of extinction, almost dead, but because of her Chaos Field, she's going to have 1 resist, so she'll negate an attack. She'll heal herself for 400. Plus we can get her willpower up, so she'll heal some health on the next turn. Plus she's got some shield from her fortitude, right? So she's not going to be like Dedge, but assuming we're playing with other characters that can, you know, tank or support in that way, draw the attention off of her. But again, if it's doing 1,700 damage to everyone on the map, there's a good chance she killed everything. Now we're just waiting for the next wave of enemies on the next turn, so she's probably not going to take damage anyways. So I don't see it being a big deal. Now, some of you guys might just say, well, if it kills everybody and the mission's over, who cares if she's dead? You won. Well, you're still going to get 2 out of 3 stars because a hero died. So that's the only reason I don't use No More. But man, it has so much potential. I just need to roll that heal based off your offense card. hopefully that works. If it does, I'll update you guys in a future video, but it's a pretty specific card to roll. And the other thing you can roll on it, and I have seen it, but I just didn't take it, I've rolled free on No More. You can roll free on No More. So she kills herself, does a bunch of damage, draws a bunch of cards, and does it for free. But the chances are, because she's marked a bunch of those enemies that die, you get the card play refund anyways. So obviously you want the heal her so she doesn't die mod. And that's what I'm hoping for. That's the one thing I'm hoping for. So while this is a video about min-maxing, heck, my Scarlet Witch is level 76, level 27 friendship. I got all these min-max mods, and it's still not perfect yet. So I'm just showing that there's always room to tweak and grow in this game, and that's what I love about it. So my goal is to get that strength from 25 to 50, and then get No More to heal. And then what we do is we replace one Chaos Reigns with No More, and then she's rocking. And you can see why all of this makes her one of my favorite heroes, why I argue that she's S tier. Everything's marked, everything's dying, everything's free. I've beaten missions on Ultimate 3, level 40 difficulty, without using a single card play. It's not just beating it in one turn, I still had 3 card plays remaining. That's how good she is. It's insane. So yeah, amazing hero. Last but not least, we will take a look at her other abilities, just so we can, compare like why we went this route and what her other options are and why people hate her so much. But yeah, I can see why she's pretty smooth right out of the get-go and not very loved. So Hex Charge, target an enemy to explode at the start of the next turn. This is actually a really good card because it actually immobilizes them. They miss a turn. They completely miss a turn. So if you just want to CC a one big badass guy, they lose their turn by putting a Hex Charge on them, and they do damage to everyone around. The problem is my area of effect is so large on her now. I tried this. It like blows up and hurts all of my heroes. It just like, it blows up the entire map and everything on it and all the destructibles on it. It's just ridiculous. So I absolutely hate that ability, but it does CC an enemy, so it's good early on when her AoE is kind of small. So Hex Field, damage each enemy near her. So it does damage within her giant area of effect circle, and it's only 200. So it's not significant enough. Yeah, if you've got a crit on there, we're looking at 300. If you had a way to strengthen her, maybe looking at 450 damage to all enemies nearby. The problem is they have to be near her. So what you really want is to have mod this so that it gives you +1 moves. That way, when you move her into position to use this, she gets another move back, because you don't really want to use your one and only precious move on this ability and then not refund it, because now what if you get another Hex Field in your hand and you can't move to the position where you want to do the damage? So the modding potential, I think by default the developers should have put +1 move on this, just standard, because then we can mod it to do cooler stuff. You could mod it to do 50% more damage based off her offense. That would bring it up to 300 damage. Then we're cooking. Now we're got so the fact that it doesn't give you a one move makes it kind of lame. It's really hard to position her. But if you play her exclusively with magic generates so many moves. Same with Spider-Man. If you play her with magic and Spider-Man, I could see like an argument for her Hex Charge and Hex Field AoE build, because they're generating moves allowing her to get into position. So that's kind of cool. We looked at Unleash. Detonate detonates an explosive with increased damage and radius, but the allies are immune to the damage that it does. So what you could do is you could use this to detonate the person that you Hex Charged, but it's like a 2-card play scenario, so you're going to want to have like one of these as quick or free. Yeah, I guess you could put quick on this so that it's not so costly. But yeah, it is adding up, and if you don't detonate the charge, everyone's going to take damage from it. It's kind of bananas. But you could also just use this to blow up a barrel, and you can also use this to Hunter has a thing where she plants deadly ground. She summons explosives on the ground, so you could actually use that detonate to blow up those explosives that Hunter plants down. So there's some builds that you could do with it. I just don't like it. It's inconsistent. It requires certain characters with certain cards. Blech, not my style. I like to just grab my hero and go and not change my cards between every mission. Hex Mark we covered, Quick Toss we covered, Chaos Field we covered, and Chaos Reigns we covered, and No More we covered. So the only things we left out were these like finicky cards that require you to move the character, reposition the character. It's a different style of playing Wanda, and that was the style that the developers were going for. Let's make her do these AoE explosions, AoE damage, and that's the actual part that if you lean into that, it's not the greatest. But if you lean into the way I've built her, suddenly things change, and we are making most out of her AoE because we're doing that with Chaos Field, Hexmark, and Unleashed, and Chaos Raids. So we are really getting a lot out of her area abilities. So that's my build. Last but not least, in this series, I kind of cover combat items and what I would use on them. Honestly, there's nothing in particular that I think she needs. I just tend to run with the utility belt because if I don't have the cards I need on her, like her quick attack, I could just use the utility belt on there, hopefully draw you know, quick attack or her unleashed ability. You could also go draw 4 cards and then generating that extra heroism with this, the nanotech, or the big boy one, the Overdrive Serum. Gain heroism equal to the cost of the heroism cards in your hand. Those are 2 great options. That's probably what I would run on her. She lacks building heroism, so any utility cards that give heroism are going to be good, and same with the utility belt. And last but not least, who does she synergize best with? My personal favorite combo in the entire game is Hunter, Captain Marvel, and Scarlet Witch. Those are the 3 that is my dream team. We will talk about Captain Marvel in a future video because she has the same story as Scarlet Witch. A lot of people wanted to love her but found her crappy. I have an argument that she's the best DPS in the game, and I'll have to show you guys. You'll have to tune in, subscribe for that video. But yeah, that is my dream team right there. But Scarlet Witch is your Mark support. She's going to play really, really well with obviously Hunter and then any DPS in the game. She's going to play well with Captain, Ghost Rider, Magic. I love playing these 2 together. That's super, super fun. Another secondary dream team, Hunter, Magic, and Scarlet Witch. They're also really good friends in the story. She's going to play well with Spider-Man, Hulk, Wolverine. Yeah, Wolverine and hers. Arguably, Wolverine... it's tough. Wolverine and Captain Marvel are in competition for the most DPS. And I can't wait to show that off. But Wolverine and Wanda is a dream team for sure. You don't really want to pair Wanda up with Doctor Strange. You just won't have the damage output unless your Hunter's a pure DPS or you drop Hunter for, you know, a bigger DPS. You don't want to pair her up with Iron Man because he's kind of a Mark support. Same with Blade. And arguably Spider-Man can be a little bit lackluster on the DPS. So anyone that hits hard is going to be who you want to pair her with for sure. For sure. Okay, there you guys go. What did you think of my build and my explanation? Do you agree? Do you think she has S-tier contention with the build that I've put together here? Did it inspire you to start using Scarlet Witch a little bit more? Are you excited to mod her out? If you are and you're like, how did he get free on so many cards? Link down in the description on how to mod easily and get all the mods you want for relatively cheap. I have a whole guide for that. You can find it down links below, and you can get going on making your Wanda just as awesome. Is there a build that you've made her really good at that I'm not aware of? Fire away in the comments below. I'd love to hear about it. And if you guys like this series, please do leave a like and subscribe, and check the playlist down below in the description. You can continue on to watch what I've done with the other heroes. And that's going to conclude it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Johnny5Alive. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.